Hey, Cam, how's it going today, sir?
It is going well, Mitch. How are you today?
I'm doing well. So, how'd you do in football last week?
Personally, I went 2-0 in fantasy football.
Nice.
But the my fantasy football team, just in case you're wondering, is too busy podcasting. That's the name of my fantasy football team.
Nice.
Now, the team that I have the distinct misfortune of following is the Detroit Lions, and they were playing the dastardly Chicago Bears, of which I think we both can agree, Mitchell.
Yes, I believe we both can agree.
Yeah, that the Bears are rotten, nasty, dirty, gross.
Terrible people.
Yeah, their stadium's awesome, but that's about all the good I can say about them.
Meh.
So
my team plays at Lambeau Field, so meh.
yeah, but Soldier Field's awesome. It's right in the lake. It's anyways. I want to go to a game there very badly, just only when the Lions are playing. So, anyways, Bears, Lions.
Yeah.
Are you at all familiar with the Lions' history of finding unique ways to lose games, and in fact, finding ways to lose games that in the future get rules in the NFL changed?
Probably not as familiar with it as you are, so go ahead.
Do you remember Calvin Johnson, one of the greatest wide receivers of our generation?
The name rings a bell.
Oh, God, you really are just a Packers fan, aren't you? He was so good.
I really am.
Anyways,
who plays on your team anyway? I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
A guy named Adrian Peterson. Maybe you've heard of him.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Yep.
Matthew Stafford.
I thought he's with the Vikings. Or no, he was with the Vikings.
And then he's with New Orleans. Then he was with another team. And then he was with Washington.
Yeah.
And now he's with Detroit. Matthew Stafford, the most yards ever thrown in 150 games. Eat your heart out, Brett Favre, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees. Now, all of those guys, playoff wins and Super Bowl championships. Matthew Stafford, not a single playoff win.
Yep.
Anyways, they played the Bears.
He gets a participation trophy.
Dude, if he
though,
was
right?
actually on a good, I'm so sick of the Lions wasting people's talent. Barry Sanders, Calvin Johnson, Matthew Stafford, many other, Herman Moore, just wasting people's talent. So much so that Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders both retired early because they were so sick of losing. It's like we should have just traded them to a team and let them go win. But they decided to retire. That's how much we made them hate football. Anyways, they're playing the Bears this past weekend. We were up 23-6 in the fourth quarter. 23-6 in the fourth quarter.
So you went on to win the game
at home. No, we gave up 3 touchdowns in the fourth quarter and lost 27-23, which carries on a trend from last season where I think we gave up 4 or 5 fourth quarter leads last season. And had we kept those, we would have finished over 500 and had a chance at a wild card berth. But no. So yeah, we're 0-1 and we gave up a 17-point lead in the fourth quarter at home to the Bears, and now we have no wins again. And our rookie running back from Georgia, DeAndre Swift, with 6 seconds left, had a wide open catch in the end zone. Granted, he was turning, like he was running an out route, so to his left, and he had to turn to catch the ball, but it was literally right in his breadbasket, and he dropped the game-winning touchdown with 6 seconds left, and we lost the game.
Yeah. So, 2 things about this. First off, Packers did great last week, as we established. Being from Wisconsin, you have no choice but to be a Packer fan. Just unless you live close to the Minnesota border, then you run into a few Vikings fans. But pretty much, you're a Packer fan. And I grew up in Fond du Lac, which is kind of right in between Green Bay and Milwaukee. So you're either a Packer fan and a Brewer fan, or you just don't like sports. So
no Bucks in there either.
I really never got into
until now. So
yeah, I really never got into basketball growing up. So it's just not something that I've added because sports take a lot of time.
They do.
To sit down and watch games and stuff like that, which is something that I love about football because it's 3 hours on Sunday. I love watching hockey. And when I lived up in the Twin Cities, really got into the Minnesota Wild. But I can't justify sitting down for 3 hours, multiple times throughout the week to watch hockey.
Yeah.
It just
too
much time commitment.
Suggest you start watching the Bucks. Granted, they just lost in the playoffs, but they made the East Finals last year. They made the East Semis this year, and they have this year's and last year's NBA MVP on their team, Giannis Antetokounmpo. Mm-hmm. He's a giant Greek man, and he's insane.
So if I were to start watching basketball, I might have to find a new wife.
She's not a basketball fan.
I'm not gonna say that she hates basketball. I think that she never got into basketball and doesn't understand it and doesn't like it. So she's made the comment multiple times she doesn't understand basketball and doesn't want to. So I'm cool with that. I was really only into basketball, probably during, the big Bulls runs, when they were winning. And I would watch some of the Bulls and stuff, but never Bucks. So
that's fair.
Yeah, but the reason I kind of wanted to talk a little bit or open the show a little bit about football is because the Packers are playing the Lions tomorrow.
Yeah. Where's the game at? Is it in Green Bay?
I think it's in Green Bay. Yeah, I'll double check and make sure because I don't want to give bad information for the 6 listeners that we have. So,
of whom we appreciate.
That was a joke. I think we have a few more
appreciate.
Than that. Absolutely.
Or of which? I don't know. English is hard.
Whatever.
Yeah, it's at Lambeau. So
okay, cool.
Let's see. What's the spread?
But here's the thing. You say. You act like, oh, they're so terrible. Oh, the Lions are going to lose. All that. But as a Packer fan, the Lions tend to always give us trouble.
Yeah, until Aaron Rodgers throws a 70-yard Hail Mary to win the game.
There's truth, but they dropped that pass and the Lions won.
Yeah, but as
game.
soon as he let go of the ball, you knew it was being caught. I literally got off the couch and walked away. I was like, well, that's a touchdown.
Yep. So here's the thing is like there really isn't a team consistently that worries me more than the Lions.
Interesting.
Because somehow there was just a streak there where, we could be the best team in the NFL and be rolling over everybody, but somehow the Lions just had our number. And we would just drop a game to the Lions for some weird reason. Now that hasn't been the case the last couple of years, but that's the Lions worry me a little bit. Like Chicago, I can look at even when they've got a good team in Chicago. We can be, I can be like, well, they worry me a little bit, but we're man. I was just about to say something, and I'm gonna dial it back just a little bit because I don't want to dance on you. But when that Chicago or Minnesota has a really good team, that worries me. But then they have an off year, and it's like, well, we could be okay, And I'm never opposed to losing. This is what I was going to say, and I'm going to be careful. But I'm never opposed to losing to a really good team. It's when you take on a team that you really shouldn't lose to that you're like, oh, shoot, what the heck's going on? Why did we lose that game? That game shouldn't have been lost. Hey, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I'm not saying, Detroit's had a good football team, in recent years, but a talented football team in recent years.
Yes.
Possibly management needs to be reviewed in that area, but they've had talented teams over the last, recently over the last few years. So, but no matter what, the Lions worry me whenever we face them. So I think there was one year that we were the only team that they beat. But yeah, so I take no bets when it comes to the Lions because you just don't know.
So we can't wager like if the Lions or if the Packers lose that you have to do Jar Jar voice the whole episode.
No. There's somebody, one of our valued listeners, that would hate that.
Yeah, you definitely have to get a new wife then.
Yeah. So after the show last week, my wife was listening to that, and I got a text message right as she was finishing up the show. She's like, "Cam, no, Cam." That's all she said. You could hear the text. You could hear the shaking of the head in the text. So,
and to be fair,
yeah,
that's exactly what I was going for. I did it on purpose.
Yeah. Good times. I thought it was hilarious, but it was funny. And I don't hate you, by the way.
I appreciate that.
Just in that moment.
The hatred was fleeting.
It was fleeting, yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to just give a PSA real quick, a public service announcement for those who don't know what PSA means. I don't know why anybody would not know that, but so I've been having problems with my iPhone lately, and not major problems, but I charge my iPhone on a wireless charger every night. But lately I've been getting into the car, and I plug it into a lightning port in the car, and it hasn't been charging. So I did a little web searching and noticed that, usually the main issue is you need to clean out the lightning port. So I did a little research into that and, tried to just make sure that I did it the right way. Of course, everybody recommended toothpicks and be very careful with them. Okay. I'm fine with that. You're waiting for this to fall apart. I can see that look on your face. It doesn't fall apart, by the way.
Oh man!
But the PSA is really about, hey, when you start having problems with this is the way to fix it, because it is working now. But I could not believe I grabbed. We have these little plastic flossers that have a little toothpick on the end, and the type, right? So I started digging lint out of this. I cannot believe the lint I pulled out of this thing.
Like a clown car?
It was like a clown car. I'm digging, and it's like lint, more lint, more lint. I'm like, where I could have probably filled a pillow with everything that came out of this stupid thing.
That's impressive.
It was a lot of lint. So,
you know what I've used in the past, and you're probably hate me for this. A paper clip.
Wow, that was the thing that I saw online. Don't use anything metal.
I was very gentle. Okay.
But I have owned an iPhone since the 4S, and this is the first time I've had to clean out a port. Of course, with the 30-pin connectors.
Lots of new pants?
And lots of what?
New pants. Those pockets tend to be more linty. Yeah, like
that's possible. Yeah, I have gone through a fair number of jeans lately because of my work. So
they tend to
very
be
physical. I had a funny moment at work one night where the crotch completely ripped out of my pants. Like, this was not like just a little rip. This was like 6 inches of tear.
Oh, you had a fat guy in a little pants moment.
I was kneeling down because when we set up to unload our floor loaded trucks, we have pallets out, and then we use chalk on the floor to label what's supposed to go on those pallets. Mm-hmm. So I was leaned down to chalk one of these pallets, and I just heard. And I felt my pants suddenly fitting a lot better. And I was like, So, something that we all know up in the north up here, are you familiar with the Red Green Show?
Yes. From when I was a kid,
So what we've learned from the Red Green Show is that duct tape will fit anything or fix anything. So I worked the whole truck. We unloaded this truck for 2 hours with duct tape all over my pants, holding everything together, covering everything up.
Oh, man.
It was the most uncomfortable truck unload I've ever had, but I was so grateful for the fact that I didn't have to be like, yeah, I got to go home. I ripped my pants. And I told my wife that I had an accident at work.
Man, come on, man. Wrong word
I led
choice.
with that. I led with that because I had a gift that I wanted to send her to let her know what I did. So I just sent her the SpongeBob gif of him ripping his pants. So that was pretty funny. Yeah, I should find that audio and just stick it into the episode.
Not as good as the original, but it'll do in a pinch.
Yeah, right. All right. Well, we have a lot of news to talk about today and not a lot of time to get it in. So let's go ahead and get firing. iOS 14.
Indeed. I was
any follow-up thoughts?
Well,
now that it's released,
I just felt really special that Apple decided to, have the event on my birthday, clearly in my honor. It was such a nice touch.
Oh, happy birthday, man.
Yeah. Welcome to my mid-30s. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Not much changed. Everything still hurts.
Yeah. Well, in about was it a week and a half away, October 1st? Yeah, I'll be turning 44, so
we're 10 years apart. I didn't realize that.
We're 10 years apart. Yeah.
I thought we were closer in age than that. Not that it matters, but
when you get to our age.
Yeah, it's not a big deal at all. I thought we were more like 5 or 6 years apart.
Yeah. It's just that that when you go run around on your one wheel, and I tried to do that, I would probably kill myself. Well, you just hurt yourself.
So what you're saying is I only have a decade left to enjoy that machine. Okay.
I'm just saying the joints start to hurt a little bit more, especially when there's weather. So
fair enough.
This last couple of weeks have been rough. But.
Yes.
But anyway,
iOS 14. Okay. When did you get the update? Because I got the update Tuesday night.
Yeah, they released the update Tuesday night for the beta testers,
which is
the public beta testers.
Super bizarre because I was listening to the last episode of Connected, which they released. They released the day after, so I don't know if they recorded it the day after or the evening of. My assumption is they recorded the day after because 2 of the 3 hosts live in England and in Rome, London and Rome. Yeah. So I'm assuming they recorded it on Wednesday, and they were saying how they hadn't got the iOS 14 releases yet. And I'm like, y'all have been on the betas for the entire time. And I'm like sitting here thinking, I got it Thursday or Tuesday night. So I just wasn't sure like if there was a glitch or if because they were in Europe, they hadn't, been pushed.
I haven't listened to that episode yet, but I think that it might have been that they were just rolling it out slowly. Because
I was shocked. I just pulled my phone up and it was like, I have a software update. And I was like, what the heck? And I was like, iOS 14. And I was like, oh. So I immediately put it on, switched from the beta to the public release on my phone and my iPad.
Which honestly, I don't think that there was a whole lot of difference. Although I hadn't had much in the way of bugs throughout the beta process. And we talked about a few of them that we had, but all of a sudden now I'm getting like my phone will lock up for like 5 to 10 seconds.
Interesting.
You can't do anything with it.
I haven't had really any issues since the episode when we talked about the keyboard kind of glitching out on those pop-ups. Ever since whatever update came after that, I haven't had any issues with my phone or my iPad. Not the issues I ran into with iTunes. The only thing that I can think of is some of the new widgets for third-party apps aren't showing up in the widgets list right away. Like I started trying out Spark Email again yesterday because I've been running the native mail app for a year and a half. But I just tried something else, or just decided to try something else just for fun. And that's supposed to have a third-party widget. And I do not want an email widget. I don't get email notifications. I don't get email noises. I don't get email it's email on my phone is there simply for when I want to check it. But I wanted to see what the widget was like, but it's not available, even though I have the latest update of the app and it says there's widgets. It's not showing up in the widgets list. So that's the only weird thing. And like, I also have DUE, on my phone for like recurring stuff, like, making my car payment. Mitch is showing me his phone.
Spark widget.
Oh, so it's working for you?
Yeah, it's working for me just fine.
Interesting. But that one, when I downloaded the update for Do, it took a day for that widget to show up.
Yeah.
So it's just I don't care. It's not a big deal. I'm not going to use either of those widgets because one, Do, you have to pay premium, which I'm not doing because I use it for like 4 reminders a month. Yeah. And the only reason I use it is because they're incessant. Like every 5 minutes, it's like bing, bing, bing. And I'm not going to use the email one, but it's other than that slight weird little thing, I haven't had any issues for like the last 3 betas. So
yeah. And I wouldn't have thought much of it, but my wife had a little lockup on her phone this morning too. So it wasn't just me, but I'll keep an eye on it. It's probably a known issue, and they'll deal with it. Or it'll get worse, one or the other. So when I updated on Tuesday night, Wednesday I was checking the store regularly to see if any of the apps were adding widgets, which I found it interesting that I probably had like 50 or 60 updates over the course of like Wednesday and Thursday.
You have that? How many apps do you have on your phone?
Yeah, a few. I honestly have no idea, but I just keep adding them and hiding them away. I only ran into, I think, 3 apps that ended up with widgets, which it's obvious that they sprung this on developers.
Yeah, the whole, hey, we're releasing this tomorrow was not good for Apple to do.
It was not very developer friendly, at least.
Not at all. But then it's also not necessarily user friendly either, because we're all like, where the heck are our updates? We got iOS 14. I want my widgets. And it's like,
yeah.
So Apple didn't really do anyone any favors, and there didn't seem to be any reason why they needed to release it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like the watches aren't shipping until 4 or 5 days after the keynote anyways. The new iPhones aren't going to be released for at least another month. I get that you're shipping new iPads. I don't know. It felt like a forced move, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the reasoning was behind that, honestly, but oh, by the way, so the other thing that I thought was interesting was for years now, Game Center has been hidden away somewhere. Like it's always been there, but there was no, like, if I wanted to go in and add a friend, I couldn't add a friend. You know, it was kind of like you were stuck in limbo with Game Center ever since the skeuomorphism went away. Well, I think there was maybe one update after that where you could still access Game Center. Well, guess what? It's back. So at the very least, you can get to it through the App Store. But I think if you just go into your settings, I think it's right with the iCloud settings, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. Also, if you go to the App Store,
no, I'm not.
If you go to the App Store and click on your little emoji in the top, it's right there. Game Center.
Yeah, I know it's in there.
Is it possible to change my Game Center name? I set that like 8 years ago. I'm going to change it.
That is interesting. Why? Is it Jar Jar?
No, it's Ajax the Great 15, because I was like super into like Troy and all that crap back then.
Oh, right.
The whole, Trojan horse and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care what you think. That Jar Jar joke was funny. Yeah, I don't see a way to edit. Oh, nickname. Oh yeah, you can edit it.
Yeah, I just changed it, but now it's gone. Now I can't access Game Center from the App Store. So I broke it.
So I just always go with Radio Mitch. That's been my gaming name for forever. So pretty much everywhere I am, I'm Radio Mitch for gaming. Everywhere else, social media and everything like that, you just find me at Mitch Craig. So, but I thought that was pretty awesome. You could finally add friends, and I sent you an invitation, and I sent like 2 or 3 other people invitations, and you were the only one that accepted my invitation. So thank you.
Because I'm a nice guy, Mitch.
It's because we wanted to talk about it, I think. Yeah. It's like normally you'd be like, man, he just beats me at chess all the time. Screw him.
Timeout. I am 1-3, and we're playing 2 games right now, and I will soon be 3-3. So just hold your roll.
I think there's a chance a chance that you could beat me at these games, but we're still in the mid game, so could go anywhere.
I have plans, Mitch.
All right. So picture in picture, I have to confess something. So I worked at 12:30 on Tuesday during the event. So I have about a half-hour ride to work. So I had to leave just a little bit before noon. The event started at noon. You see where this is going? So I pulled up. Siri, I don't need you right now. So I pulled up my map, and because I always use maps, it's just so I can keep track of how far it is to work, and then I can zone out and enjoy the drive. And I had a video screen up at the top of the screen, which was the keynote. I don't know are we calling it a keynote now, or are we just calling it an event?
I think we can call it whatever we want, Mitch. This is our podcast.
Excellent. Sounds good. So I was able to watch the first, listen and then glance over every once in a while to about the first half hour of the keynote. So it was interesting. I like that picture in picture.
Yeah, I guess I just don't understand. Like, I get it on the TV, maybe, but I think personally for me, it just doesn't. I'm not a picture-in-picture user. Like, if I'm watching something, I want to watch it. You know, I don't want to have it hiding in the corner so I can do something else on the same device. Like, in that case, I just have it on the TV and then use the other device for, you know, and especially on the phone. Like, I get it in that scenario. But, you know, for me, in the way that, you know, that I use my devices, I don't really think it's ever going to be a thing that I use. And that may just be because I've never used it before, and so I don't have any context for it. But like, it doesn't strike me as a feature that I'm very excited about.
I think that the picture-in-picture concept is interesting. Do I see myself using it a lot? Not really. I can only really think of, like, maybe if I'm traveling and I'm watching something and I want to check on, you know, instead of having to leave the video to go, you know, check on something maybe online or view a text message or something like that, I don't have to leave the video. The video's still on the phone. I can see purposes like that for it. I'm still trying to figure out the picture-in-picture on the Apple TV. Because last night I was watching Hulu, and maybe Hulu just hasn't implemented it yet. But I'm sure they will, because they've implemented it on the phone now. But they don't have it implemented, I don't think, on the Apple TV yet.
Oh yeah, and that's going to be the last. That's going to be the last device or OS that they update, right? Because it's the least popular. And that's been the issue for me. Is like, if the one place I could conceivably use it would be the Apple TV, and those are always the last apps to get updated because it's the least priority. So, you know, give it 2 months and maybe we'll have that option.
Yeah. So why don't we talk about the event a little bit? New
Indeed.
Apple Watches, man.
Yeah. So remember on the show when I said I wasn't going to spend $400 on a watch because that was stupid?
I was so tempted to pull that audio.
You still can.
No, it'll take too long.
The Scooby-Doo ending. Remember when I said...
No, it wouldn't have been any fun if it wasn't live.
So I had the original Apple Watch Sport back when, you know, the aluminum bodied was referred to as the Sport. I had the black with the black band. It was awesome. And up until about a year and a half ago, I used that watch, which was a very long time to use that watch. And I had the issue where the battery expanded and the screen popped off. And then I looked at replacing it, and it was just a lot of money. And I was like, whatever. So I just haven't had an Apple Watch for the last year and a half. And so my goal was this year when they released the new watch was to buy, you know, whatever was the cheaper version. Well, the cheaper version is the Series 3. Which compared to the SE or the 6 is like, why even spend the money? You don't get the bigger screen. You don't get the always on display. You don't get any of the, like the newer health hardware and apps and that sort of stuff. And then I was like, well, okay, do I get the SE or do I get the 6? And then, the SE, you don't get the always on display. You don't get the ECG. You don't get the blood oxygen, which doesn't give you the VO2. Like there was enough of the new stuff that I thought, you know what? I might as well. Like, I ran that last watch I had into the ground. I'll do the same with this one, and then I'll buy the Series 10 in 4 years, right? And so I decided to pull the trigger on the Series 6. And it also helped that my mom was like, hey, it's your birthday. What do you want? And I'm like, I'm 34. You don't have to buy me presents. That seems silly. Like, I'm a grown man. I have a child. I have a 401k. I don't need a birthday present. And she's like, shut up. I know you're looking at a new toy. What are you looking at? And I was like, well, I'm looking at a new Apple Watch. She goes, okay, I'll send you a check for $100. And I was like, boom, now it only costs $329. I'm totally getting it. So thank you, Mom. Yep. So I went with the 44 millimeter space gray aluminum body with the white sport band, which I think is going to look. And Mitch can see my you got the Nike one though, right?
Yeah, I got the Nike. They call it desert tan and black.
Ooh, but Mitch can see based on the camera. I do appreciate a nice white and black color scheme. It's I'm excited. It should be here in today is the 19th. The arrival date is in between the 29th and the 1st of October. So in 10 to 12 days. Mm-hmm. So we'll see.
Which knowing Apple, I would expect that sooner.
I think they're padding the dates because of the whole COVID slowing things down. I would certainly love for it to show up earlier. But
my iMac wasn't supposed to show up until like the 28th or 29th, and I got it like a week and a half ago. Or
holy cow!
Over 2 weeks ago. Yeah, they shipped it. They said it was going to take like a month and a half to get it, and it shipped in like 2 weeks. So
interesting. So yeah, so I was a big enough fan of the updates to the Apple Watch to decide, you know what, I'm gonna invest in this. In part also because of the Fitness Plus service, mm-hmm. which is really appealing to me. There's been a number of changes for me personally in the last couple of weeks that have sort of helped me realize, I'm not 23 anymore. I can't eat what I want, drink what I want, stay up all night. I should have started taking care of my body proactively a lot more further in the past. And now it's like, okay, I'm at the point now where if I don't start doing that actively and like proactively making choices, it could have effects down the road to my health. And so with the watch and the Fitness Plus service, which is, we can talk about the Apple One bundle later. It makes sense for somebody like me who's not going to go to the gym and not going to pay a gym membership. Like, okay, if I get that bundle, it's essentially free based on, all the services that you get for it. Why would I not take advantage of something like that to just at least make sure that I'm doing my part to keep, my cardio and, my heart in a good spot. So I feel like such an adult having to think about that. That's so sad.
Yeah.
But it's something that you have to do, right? Like,
happens to all of us.
I'm a real boy now, so I need to start thinking long term about my health and my physical well-being. Mm-hmm. It was a choice to invest in my future in that way.
And I'll be honest with you, when I was, that was probably right about 35. I was 2013, I think, was the year that my wife and I went paleo. How old was I then? That'd have been 7 years ago. So that would put me in my late 30s. We'll call it that. 36, 37 years old. And I was like 315 pounds then. Yeah, I was a big dude. And I'm 6'2", so to put that into, my the whole idea of ideal weights is a lie. So I'm supposed to weigh 186 pounds, and there's no way with my frame that I'm ever going to weigh 186 pounds.
Yeah, I haven't weighed that much since college. I'm 6'2" as well, and I was a clothes hanger.
Yeah,
at 186. I mean, just absolute like turn sideways and disappear.
No, I got myself down to about 205, and
holy cow!
And my mom was afraid for my health because I looked sick. I looked sickly. And so my wife and I changed our diets a little bit at that point, and we gained a little bit of weight back, which was good. But then we gained a little bit too much weight back. So I'm somewhere in between now. But
yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally agree. The best that I've ever felt is when I've been consistently exercising, consistently eating right. When I was that far overweight, like I was so lethargic and just didn't want to do anything and hated the idea of moving, really.
Yeah.
But as I gained weight, I started becoming more. I started feeling the energy, started moving around more, started feeling like I could do things that I couldn't do before that. And so that was a huge game changer for me. So definitely, you do reach that point where it's just like, it kind of smacks you upside the head. It's either I'm going to just not care and just let myself get huge and then never be able to lose weight, or I got to take charge of that now and stay healthy
and take some ownership. And like, for us as Christians, it's one of those things where it's like, culture tells us our body is our own and no one can tell us what to do with our own bodies and that sort of stuff. But really the Bible says, well, your body's not your own. It was bought with a price. Your whole existence was bought with a price, and that's the blood of Jesus. And we are simply stewards of what God has done or has given us. And that means that like we are responsible for caring for our bodies physically, also our souls spiritually and emotionally, and everything that encompasses being a human, we have been given the responsibility of caring for it. And then for those of us that have spouses or kids or areas of responsibility of other people, whether it be people you manage at work, like we're also responsible for caring and stewarding those responsibilities. And I've just been like, bluntly honest, I have been so slack in the responsibility of caring for myself that, it becomes a habit. And like you said, when you don't want to do the things because being lazy is more comfortable, So just a bit of a wake up call for me, I guess.
So the Bible tells us we should buy Apple Watches and subscribe to Fitness Plus.
I did not say that.
I'm joking, of course, but it certainly doesn't help, or it doesn't hurt, rather. One thing I will tell you about the person that I've become is I love the fact that I have the Apple Watch. I love the fact that you can track everything. Data, as geeks, I think I'm not going to speak for both of us, but I love having data on everything. Because I can see holes. I can see holes in the things that I'm doing, and I'm able to correct that and be able to be the person that I really want to be and know where I need to get better at it. Does that make sense? So, I track my water. I haven't stopped tracking food just because it's arduous, and I think long term I need to learn to be able to manage my food intake without having to put it into an app every multiple times a day.
Right, and I think that's the goal with those apps is that you do it long enough that you just inherently know. Okay,
you have to do it to learn.
Exactly.
And then once you learn, then you've got to be like, okay, now if I step on the scale tomorrow and I've gained a half a pound or a pound, then I know that I need to look at yesterday and see, okay, what did I do that did that, or did I just fluctuate a little bit? Because that's a normal thing too.
Yeah. If you drink a bunch of water and you haven't, used the restroom yet, like that sort of stuff.
So anything else to say about the Apple Watch? Let me take a look at my notes here and see if there's anything I wanted to talk about. Blood oxygen.
That's supposed to be important. I don't know why it's supposed to be important, but man, they did a consistently loud job of saying it was important, but I don't think they actually told you why it was important. They just said it was.
Pulse oximetry is the term that they kept using. I had to look it up to get the right spelling in my notes. Pulse oximetry. So here's my take on this, and this is actually tempting me to look at replacing my watch. Tempting. If my wife is listening, tempting me. So I grew up with asthma. I still struggle a little every once in a while with a little bit of chest tightness, like just bronchial spasms. And, you know, if I have a coughing fit, I'll have trouble breathing for a little bit after that. When we're unloading the trucks at work, I struggle a little bit. I tend to pull a lot of the pallets out of the truck, and some of those pallets are a ton or better. You know, they're heavy pallets.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the invention of the wheel, because otherwise we couldn't move them. What's become really obvious to me in recent weeks, at least, with wearing masks and stuff like that is, you know, where is the limit? Where do I need to take my mask off just to be able to get enough oxygen to keep things going? I had my pulse up to 179 beats per minute the other day when we were working the truck.
Jeez.
And which, you know, I'll be honest with you, which a couple of years ago, that would have put me on the floor. You know, the fact that I've been unloading trucks for the last year like this has really improved my health, that my heart can handle that. But yeah, I would get to 140 beats per minute and I'd be laid out on the floor, you know, just not being able to move. You know, I'd feel just terrible. But you know, when we're pulling those pallets out, you know, I'm having to pull my mask down a little bit just so I can get more oxygen, because I can feel it in my head. Like I can feel that I'm not getting the oxygen that I need, because everything's running so fast and so hard. But that, I think the pulse oximetry would be at the very least interesting, if not important to me, to understand like what's going on with the amount of oxygen that's in my blood in situations like that. So, and maybe I look at it and just be like, well, maybe it's just in my head then, if it's not really reflecting in that number. But I wouldn't be surprised if my blood oxygen is dropping into the 70s or something like that when I'm pulling a pallet out with a mask on, you know, with a heart rate that's that high. So it'd be nice to have that data. You weren't tempted by the gold stainless steel watch?
Tell me what the price tag is on that one.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know, but it's probably
like $900 or $800. Yeah, no, thank you.
I didn't like the idea of the product red one personally, because I'm just not a red person, until I saw somebody they had one on with a black band, and I'm like, ooh, that actually looks pretty cool. Let me just slide through my notes here. I did think it was interesting that as they were talking about the S6 system on a chip, that they replaced their verbiage of system on a chip and all that with Apple Silicon.
Well, you know, branding, hashtag branding, right?
Yep. So they're really leaning into that Apple Silicon branding.
Yeah.
And what do you think about I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, like, it's classic Apple, right? What we make is better. And anything we can put Apple in front of, we can charge more money for. You know, so anytime they get a chance to say Apple Silicon, one is going to remind us, oh, there's new Macs coming that are running on those, and that's super important. And wow, isn't Apple amazing? And just consistency, right, of that phrase, and just trying to burn it into our brains that Apple Silicon is better and is super important and is the best that you can get. It's classic marketing.
The next thing they talked about was watch bands. Do you have any opinions about the new Solo Loops?
I like the way the braided ones look. I think the sport loop looks silly. I also don't know how that's going to work. Like, my wrist compared to the widest part of my hand is like probably 50%. Like, and I get that it stretches, but like, I want my watch to be secure on my wrist, you know, so it doesn't slide around and like rip my hair out. And I don't know, I would be very, very cautious to buy one without first being able to go to a store and try one on. And we all know that's not happening right now.
Yeah. And that's something that I've heard on a couple of podcasts this last week was, you know, why would you buy this without being able to try it first?
Yeah. And there's like, we're like, oh, but you can print the things out on paper. Well, paper doesn't stretch, paper rips. So I don't know what the elasticity of either of those solo, you know, loops is, the sport one or the braided one. But based on looks alone, if I had to choose one, I would choose the braided one. But I'm just not really, I don't know. Yeah. Without the buckle or clasp or whatever on any, like, it doesn't bother me. So it's not like a total game changer for me. Watches have always had clasps and buckles. It's not like I haven't worn a watch my whole life because they're evil. Like, no, you just whatever. So yeah, it's not a game changer for me. I wouldn't spend money on them without trying one on. And even if I did, I probably still wouldn't spend money on it because it just doesn't appeal to me.
Yeah, I would be interested in the braided loop. Probably a black or that dark green, I think would look pretty nice with the space gray. I kind of overlooked the leather loop until I saw it in some photos on, I think it was iMore had some photos of it. Either that or it was Renee Ritchie had some photos that were posted online of the leather loop. And I think it's like a saddle gray or like a brown that has a little bit of, it looks a little distressed.
Oh, really? I haven't seen that one. It has a little
character to it. Mm-hmm. And that actually looked pretty cool.
The leather loop is the one that has like those little bumps in the middle, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's an interesting looking one. It's one I would want to see and feel in person to see like, okay, are those bumps that accentuated in everyday life, or is it just because it's on a computer screen that they look so...
Yeah, so it would be something that I would probably be really quick to buy like a knockoff version of it on Amazon, being that I would be paying Apple prices for it. And there's a bit of quality that goes with that too. That's why I bought the Nike Plus version of this particular band. First off, I was having trouble finding anything that was even close in the knockoffs, but I bought knockoff bands like that before, and the quality was just not anywhere near what Apple's quality was on it. So I was cool with paying $50 for that. But yeah, if you're going to try something like that, yeah, I would want to try it on first and make sure it's something that I really like. Because this band, man, I've gone through a lot of bands, and this band, this Nike Plus band, has just been my favorite band. And I think the other band that I would really like that I'm not willing to pay the price for is the Black Link band, the metal Link band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It's because I had some knockoffs of that too, and really liked how that one felt and how
I had a knockoff
stuff like that.
I had a knockoff all black Milanese loop.
Mm-hmm. I had one of those too, and I didn't like that one as much.
No, and I don't know if it was because it was a knockoff or just because of the gaps in the links. But if that thing would slide, around, it would just rip hair. Yeah. And I wore it like twice, and I was like, no, I'm done. I'm glad I paid like $15 for this because it was painful.
Yeah.
I think too, this whole, like we've said this multiple times, right? I would only buy this if I was able to go to a store and try it on. And I wonder how much the current state of Apple stores being open or closed is going to hurt watch sales, if at all, because it of anything that Apple sells, it is the most, fashion, driven as far as, what color you're going to buy, what bands you're going to buy, that sort of stuff. Even though it is a computer. So I'm curious to see, and Apple isn't always the best at, sharing this sort of data. Sometimes they try to cover up sales for individual things like that in their quarterly releases, but I would be interested, if at all possible, to see the numbers on bands and new watches that were sold now compared to when the Series 5 was released last year. Like year over year differences would be just interesting to me.
Well, are you tempted by either one of those iPads that they announced?
If I hadn't bought the 11-inch iPad Pro in March when it came out, the iPad Air would be very tempting. Very, very tempting. I think I honestly think right now in the entire lineup of iPads, mini 8th generation iPad Air, then the 2 iPad Pros, I think the iPad Air checks the most boxes for the most people.
Yeah, after seeing that presentation, I'm like, what room did they leave for the iPad Pro?
It's the FaceTime, the LiDAR, the ProMotion on the screen, and then the bigger storage. That's it. Those are the only differences, right? The iPad Air doesn't have Face ID. It has the Touch ID in the button, which I think is pretty stinking clever. And because it doesn't have the whole Face ID front camera array, you lose LiDAR. So that's like, stuff they're using for augmented reality. This is also not in the back camera. And then you have 64 and I think 256 are your storage options on the Air. Whereas on the iPad Pro, I think you can go up to 1 or 2 terabytes.
All right.
So, yeah, if I had not purchased the iPad Pro 11-inch in March, the iPad Air would be the one that I would get, because I don't need, like, the iPad Pro that I bought is 256 gigs. So it's not even like I would be losing out on storage. But I think it's really interesting what they've done, because to your point, yeah, now the Pro is like, well, shoot, I can get almost the identical form factor in the iPad Air. It's just a tiny bit smaller. It still works with the new Magic Keyboard that they released with the Pro, even though it's a little bit smaller, which is brilliant on Apple's part, right? Because they don't have to make new accessories. It works with the Apple Pencil 2. So all of the stuff that they made specifically for the Pro, they can double down with on the iPad Air. And I think it at its price point for what you get versus what you don't get, it's a no-brainer over the Pro for a majority of people.
Yeah.
And I think go ahead.
They would really have to make a case for the iPad Pro for me to go that direction. I don't think that I would use the camera array that's on it. The storage, I've got 128 gigs on my current iPad Pro, and I don't use that much on there. Really, and we talked about this a little bit last episode. My iPad is kind of an accessory for everything else right now. It's just, I'm not doing all my work on it. If I had to go without it, I would miss it a little for certain things, but I wouldn't miss it that much.
Yeah. So. And a quick clarification or correction. My iPad Pro is not 256. It's 128 gigs. So it's half of what I thought I had, and I still have 90 gigs available.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Now, that being said, if Apple ever releases Final Cut or Logic for the iPad, then all of a sudden I'm not going to have very much space.
Well, and that might be their differentiator for the Pro.
But again, we're at least a year out, because they're not going to release those, mid-cycle. They could, but it would totally buck the trend of what they've done.
Yeah, and they've done that before, and it was not good. When they went from the iPad 3 to the iPad 4 in 6 months.
Yeah,
that was rough. So I don't think we see more than every 12 months, and probably more like 18 months in between.
Yeah,
because I think that's been their current cycle. So anything else? I'll look at my notes here, but I don't think there was really much to say about the iPad.
No, I mean, the Air is a really, really, really solid choice for, I would, again, an overwhelming majority of people that are looking to either upgrade from, a standard iPad, be it 7th or 6th generation, or just getting into Apple tablets, period. I think that the iPad Air checks so many boxes and is such a solid offering. I mean, I had an iPad Air too, and I loved that iPad. And it always kind of was that, like, you don't want to pay full price for a Pro, but you want the good stuff. And it just always was in that sweet spot for me as far as like form factor and capability. And they've carried that on now with the new one.
So do you have any thoughts about the 8th generation iPad? Because it seems like they're starting a iPad, iPad Air, iPad Pro, basically differentiating 3 different iPads.
Yeah, and I wish they had a better name than iPad 8th generation, because the last one was iPad 7th generation. And I'm like, why don't you just call it the iPad 8, the iPad Air, and the iPad Pro? Like, no one wants to say, oh, I have the iPad 8th generation. Like,
nobody's going to say that. They're just
exactly.
going to say
They're going to say, oh, I have the bad iPad, or I have the cheap iPad, or I have the one that they make normal for kids. iPad. And none of those things are things that Apple wants tied to their products, right? And so the fact that they haven't just called it the iPad 7 and the iPad 8 blows my mind, because they are so stinking particular about the words that get used around their products, so much so that they forget English and don't put the in front of iPad or iPhone. I love iPad. It's like Brick. It's like Brick from Anchorman. I love Lamp. Like, you really, that's the marketing you're going to go with? No, I love the iPad. I love I will die on this hill. It bothers me so much. But like, why they would not say the iPad 7 and the iPad 8 instead of letting people say, oh, I have the cheap iPad, or I have the normal iPad, or I have the bad iPad, or I have the less powerful one. Give it a name. People will use the name, and they will stop using those phrases. It's for a company that is 1,000,000% about marketing and branding. It blows my mind that they're letting this one slide.
And they're still using the Generation 1 Apple Pencil on that one.
And it's still $300.
Yeah,
right?
$399, I think, is the base price, unless you buy it for education.
And then it's $299, which is still like way more expensive than a Chromebook.
Can I just tell you something funny? As I was taking notes when I was watching it, we got to the A12 Bionic that's in there, and he's going on and on about chip architecture, and this is this much faster, and this is that much faster in these processes, and it's funny because I was trying to keep track of that as he was going, and then I just deleted everything and wrote, it's faster. So I think sometimes they get into the weeds a little bit with the features versus benefits.
They want to sound impressive, and if they can put nanometers and processes and it's measured in atoms, okay, great. That doesn't mean anything to me. Is it faster? That's all I care about. To your point. Exactly, to your point. But the one other differentiator between the current iPad Pro and the current iPad Air is the iPad Air has the newest, fastest, most powerful processor in it. It's like the A14 Bionic.
The first A14 Bionic.
Yeah. So that is like, it doesn't have these other things, the LiDAR, the Face ID, the larger storage, the ProMotion display. But what it does have is the newest, the latest, the newest hotness as far as chips are concerned. So that's a huge check in its longevity going forward. Is it's the first of its kind. So it's gonna age well for at least the next couple of years.
And it's also a weird move for Apple, because normally they lead with the new chip and the iPhone, which obviously this year has been a weird year for things, and they're delayed. But
this also means they're not going to. This also means they're not going to touch the iPad Air for 2 years at least. You know what I mean? They revved it huge because they're just going to let it sit for a while, and that's fine. It's a solid machine from all. What's the word I'm looking for? The specs, I guess. From the specs, it sounds like a great machine. So
the Apple One bundles are.
I mean, it's about time they did this, right?
Yeah, I like them. I like it because there is, when the rumor was coming out and they were saying that, well, it's going to be about $2 to $5 worth of savings. I haven't done the math, but I think it's more than that.
The premium bundle is $25 a month of savings.
Yeah. So
if you were to pay full price for all 6 of the services, right? Because you've got music, you've got iCloud, you've got Fitness Plus, you've got Arcade, you've got Apple TV Plus, and you've got News Plus. So there's 6 services that are all bundled. That's the premium service. I think there's two tiers below that are like music and iCloud. And so like for me, I already have the 2 terabytes of iCloud storage because I have 2 HomeKit cameras. And if you want to be able to record video from multiple cameras, you have to have the 2 terabyte plan. So I already have that. That's I think like 10 or 12 bucks a month. And I already have Apple Music, which is $10 a month. So I think I'm already paying $20 or $22 a month for just those two services. I was planning on now I get 3 months of Fitness Plus for free with my Apple Watch that I bought, but I was planning on paying for that, which would put me at $30 or $32 a month. The premium bundle is $29.95 or $29.99 a month, which would then give me, for the exact same price or $2 less, News Plus, Apple TV Plus, and Arcade.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a no-brainer. Like, I'm already paying that much money. Why would I not pay that much money and get the extra services for free? You know, and I've had the year free of Apple TV Plus, and it ends in November. So if that's when the bundle comes out, then, you know, technically I'll never pay for Apple TV Plus, but we'll always have the option of, you know, of having it. And while Arcade, I really don't care about. I think the magazine offering for News Plus is intriguing. It's something that I never would have paid for out of pocket, but now it's something that I can look into if I want, because it's just there.
And I think I'm flip flop from you. I did have Arcade for a little bit, for the trial at least, and there's some cool games in there. I really enjoy playing some of those games. I played the crap out of it. Was it Mini Metro or I forget?
Mini Metro is not an arcade game.
No, it's the other one that they made.
Mini Metro is a great game.
Yeah, but they made another one that is an Apple Arcade game, and the name is
but it was the same. It was the same people that made Mini Metro.
Oh yeah, it was the same concept. Only instead of putting together like a subway system, you were routing roads to different things. And so the concept was slightly different, and I can't remember the name of that game. I'll have to look it up here when I get a minute.
I used to play Mini Metro when I had my 27-inch 5K iMac. I used to play it full screen on that, and it was glorious. I'm just saying, you should give it a shot. It's awesome.
I own it for the iPhone. I'll have to see if it's available through the Mac App Store. I
think it was only a couple bucks back in the day. But just, on that screen, like the animations are so simple, and it's such a clean, well-designed, minimalistic visual experience. But like on that 27-inch display, full screen, like there's just, with the soundtrack, there's just something about it that's like incredibly calming, until of course it gets chaos. But that's the whole point of that game.
Yeah. And I think, it's a no-brainer for my wife and I to bump up to the family plan. For $5 more, and then all the stuff that we're getting for just $5. We're paying individually right now for 50 gigs of iCloud storage, so that's $2 right there, plus the Apple Music plan, which is $15, so we're at $17. I was planning on canceling Apple TV Plus when we get there, and then just subscribing for a month at a time when there's some shows I want to watch. But there's got to be some shows on there that I want to watch. But if it came with the family bundle for $3 more, plus Arcade, that to me that's worth it. Plus you're getting a lot more iCloud storage. So, and then the choice will have to be made, or the conversation will have to be had, if we want Fitness Plus when it comes out. And if so, then the Premier package definitely is worth the money then. So, yeah, News Plus. I had News Plus for the trial. Yeah. And just never used it. I just don't get into that stuff. I don't read that much, at least not that kind of reading. So now that they have the audio stuff, maybe I would read a little bit more, but I still would rather listen to podcasts. So
makes sense.
Yeah. There was one other thing I wanted to get your take on, and I don't know if you noticed that I popped it into the show notes there.
Yeah.
But no more USB power adapters.
Yeah, this rumor's been going on for a while, and people are going to have their opinions on it, much like the headphone jack or whatever. Like, I get why they're doing it. and I think it's great. I also think it's a bit silly that I can pay $429 for a watch and not get a way to charge it. And like if I was coming from, like if I had an Apple Watch, like I'm pretty sure the charger that I got with my original one, I threw out when, sorry, adding to the pile of, USB chargers and trash dumps around the planet. But like I now have to go out and spend an extra $25 on a charger or $30 on a charger for my phone or for my watch that didn't come with the $429 piece of equipment that does not work.
I thought it was $15 for the little 5-watt.
I'm talking about the disc that you set your watch on.
Oh, well, no, it should come with that.
I'm assuming when it's, you're saying it is going to come with the cable. It's not going to come with,
just not with the power brick.
I thought it was not coming with anything. That's how
it will come with the USB cable, but it doesn't come with the power brick.
Oh, well, in that case, I don't care. Great. I have a bunch of those. I have plenty of ways to charge USB cables. The way I interpreted this, apparently incorrectly, was that you're getting the watch and that is it. You're not getting a charger. You're not getting a cable. You're getting nothing.
Well, you can report back for us when you get it, but I'm pretty sure you should be getting the USB charger in there.
Well, in that case, then great. This is awesome because everyone has multiple ways of charging USB devices, whether it's their car, their computer, their laptop, a bunch of different plugs around the house. I mean, how many people have USB ports built into their electrical outlets and walls nowadays, right? I don't have any of those, but I have a computer with multiple USB ports. I have multiple charging bricks that have 1 or 2 or 3 USB ports in them. So from that perspective, totally fine with it. Great. Save material, save pollution, save all that stuff. That's great. I was more of like, I shouldn't have to go spend $30. It shouldn't cost $30 for a 3-foot cable with a Apple Watch charger on the end. Anyways, that's ridiculous. But yeah, no brick in the box. Fine. Not a problem.
Yeah. And I think that works out just fine. So
yeah,
I'm happy with it.
Yeah. I feel a lot better about it now. I will report back, but if you're right, I will be happy camper.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, what's delighting you today, Cam?
A song, Mitch. Have you heard the song New Wine?
I have not.
It's a goodie. Have you heard the song What a Beautiful Name by Hillsong?
Yes.
Okay, so the lady that wrote that song also wrote this song. Okay. And so obviously she's one of the main people at Hillsong Music. But the version I heard first, and how I got introduced to the song, do you know Shane and Shane?
No.
What? Okay. All right. Oh, all right. Okay. I'm gonna introduce you to about 30 albums here after the show. There's a version that they do with one of the Shane's wives. You ever heard of Bethany Dillon? No, anyway, okay, that's one of the Shane's wives, and she
probably should have said no instead of shaking my head because
it's okay.
Let me shake my head.
So, anyways, it's a song. We can maybe put a link to it in the show notes, and it's essentially a song about the process of making wine, or the process of breaking new ground is this idea of crushing and pressing, and like the pain or the suffering that we may go through in life as or making wine or breaking new ground as an analogy for going through suffering, going through temptation, going through hard times in life, and how oftentimes that is how God builds character in us or reveals his truth to us, or how we become closer to God is through moments of suffering or great change. And the concept of wanting something new, wanting God to do something new in our lives, and wanting God to make moments of pain or hardship or suffering worthwhile, in the sense that through this trial, God is revealing himself more to us, is the Holy Spirit is changing us to be more like God. And so it's a song about that, and it's really, really, really powerful, and it's a really good song, and it's one that I've been listening to and singing a lot lately, and I really enjoy it.
All right, and I just put a link to the album, the Apple Music album.
Which album?
So There Is More studio sessions.
Is that the Hillsong version?
Yes.
Okay.
Is there more than one version of that song?
Well, I mean, honestly, the only one I've listened to is the Shane and Shane version. I haven't listened to the Hillsong version yet, but I'm sure it's awesome because that the person who wrote the song, Brooke Ligertwood, I don't know how to say her last name. She's got a phenomenal voice. She's incredibly talented. And she wrote this song, so it's probably good to hear her version of it. She's super talented.
The weird thing is I don't see that on Apple Music.
The Shane and Shane one?
No.
Look up The Worship Initiative 17. That's the album.
Oh, I see it there. I'll go ahead and throw this into the show notes as well. So there it is. All right.
So what's delighting you, Mitch?
I have a really extensive list that I put in the show doc. So I got to pick something out of this list. I'm going to save the one. I threw it in there yesterday because I got my Thanksgiving vacation saved, but I got it approved, but I'll save that for the next episode that we record, because there's an explanation that goes with that. But, and I've got time. But this last couple of weeks after getting my iMac, I thought, I'm going to download Steam again. Because I haven't had a machine in a very long time that I could actually use Steam well. Now, of course, Steam is the video game platform. Most geeks should know about that. And there's another game on the iPhone that I've been really digging lately. But generally speaking, what's delighting me right now is the fact that I've rediscovered gaming. I haven't really been playing a lot of games for a while, save playing some chess. But Among Us on the iPhone has captured my attention. Now, I mentioned this to you. Did you look at it at all?
I looked at the pictures in the App Store, but I haven't played it. And I know that there's some big Twitch people are playing it on their streams now.
Yeah. So the concept of this game is there are anywhere from, you can set different number of players in the game, but generally speaking, you've got 10 people that are on basically, there's 3 different maps, but the one map that everybody seems to use is the spaceship map. I forget what they call it, but you're all on a spaceship, and there's one person, or actually there can be up to 3 what they call imposters. But normally speaking, most people play with 10 people and one imposter out of the 10. And that imposter's job is to run around and kill as many people as they can. So they win when they eliminate everybody but one person.
So essentially it's Mafia.
I've never played that. So
okay. It's like you sit in a circle, and there's like a police officer, and there's a medic, and then there's mafia members, and everyone, like at night, the mafia members will commit a crime and choose to kill someone, and you have to figure out who the mafia person is, and the medic can save a person, and the police detective every turn can investigate a certain person.
It sounds more complicated, but the essential thing is the other 9 players have to figure out who the imposter is before the imposter kills everybody but one person. Because once there's only one person left, it's obvious who the imposter is. But the other portion of this game is that everybody that's not the imposter has tasks that they have to complete on the ship. So you might have to run over to a little wiring panel and rewire the panel, or run over to the oxygen room and like clear out the oxygen filter. And so you have a list of tasks that you have to complete while you're doing that. Now, if you complete all the tasks, everybody completes all their tasks, which I have not seen that done in one of the games that I've played yet.
But if everyone completes their tasks, then everybody wins, except, the imposter loses. So the imposter has to stay secretive. They can't give up that they're the imposter. They have to kill everybody before they complete their tasks is kind of the concept. So that basic concept, and yet, like, there's a bunch of guys that I work with that play. We were sitting on break. I was on lunch break. I don't know if the other guys were on, what they were on, but we were sitting around playing it. There's 3 of us playing it, and that was the most fun I've had on a lunch break in a long time, because we were having fun. Of course, one of us was the imposter at one point, and you can't tell them, can't tell them who the imposter is. So, it was a good time. But the other game that I've gotten into again, and I don't know if I'll keep playing it or not, but I really enjoy EVE Online.
I've never even heard of this one.
You said that you've never heard this one. So if you can imagine, it's a massively multiplayer online game, which is a really hard thing to say. But it's also, they call it a perpetual massively you know what I mean? I'm not even going to try it again. But you basically, you enter it as a capsuleer. You grow your knowledge. It's a very complicated game because there's a lot of economic stuff in the game. But you have a fleet of ships, or you have ships that you move around within this galaxy, and it takes place in space. But you learn your craft, and then you set out to earn money, to earn some cred. It's basically, you get a job and you work the job, but it's fun because but it's fun. It sounds really boring to say it's a job, but it's fun because you get that sense of accomplishment as you're going through the game as well. But I'm really early into it. I haven't played super deep into it yet, but I've bought a couple of ships. I've learned how to, in some games it would be called crafting, but in this game it's called producing or production. I was following the business track when I started to learn how to conduct business on there. So I learned how to do like product production and selling and buying stuff through the market. And so there was some cool stuff there. Now I'm working through the military track to get more fluent with being able to defend myself when I'm out doing stuff. So
sounds complex.
So, yeah. It is a complicated game, but it's, again, I don't know how long I'll stick with it, but so far I've been having fun with it, dipping into it here and there to just complete quests and stuff like that. It's probably the sci-fi equivalent of World of Warcraft being more fantasy.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
Gotcha.
So anyway, that's delighting me right now.
Well, good.
Having fun with that. All right. Well, that about brings us to the end of the show, I think.
Yes, sir.
Unless you had anything you wanted to add.
No, I'm good.
This episode has been our first episode on the Zencastr video beta. So this is the first time we've actually seen each other while we've been recording.
Indeed.
So it's been nice, and I think I might be able to download video for this episode, and then maybe see if we can't post it somewhere. So
that would be fun.
See. Yep. I'm not sure what this affords us and what it doesn't at this point. So, but one thing that we haven't said on the show, and now that we're growing the listenership a little bit, I want to encourage our listeners, if you can go to your podcast app of choice, favorite us, give us a 5-star review, whatever, just to help us out to grow our audience. We would really appreciate that.
Or a 3-star review, if that's more accurate. That'll help us too.
Give us a 5-star review. Otherwise, we're not going to do the show anymore.
Oh, boy.
No, I'm kidding. But if you could do that for us, we'd really appreciate it. It'll help us get ranked and possibly be able to grow our listenership more. And that might afford us some more stuff that we can do with the podcast later on. So we're not sure where we're going with this, but and how things will go. But the more listeners we have, the more options we have as we go forward. So you can find us at innerdialogue.show. And if you got questions, comments, anything, you just want to let Cam know how bad you feel about having to put up with me every couple of weeks, you can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Mitch Craig.
Oh, I'm at Cam Brennan.
I always pause to let you say it, and I'm just like, is he going to say it this time, or am I going to have to say it?
I try to wait I try to wait an extra beat just to make you sweat it out.
Yeah, it makes me sweat. So you can hit us up on Twitter. Let us know if you have any questions, comments, anything that we could do better on the show. Certainly would appreciate that. We're going to come up with a option for our next episode, as Cam can't record on our normal time. And I think we're going to have to do that for Thanksgiving too. So we'll figure that out. But I have some ideas. I'll talk to you off the air about those. But we'll see you back here in a couple of weeks. Either me with a guest host, or maybe we'll just record early. We'll see. I might bring in a guest host.
I'm offended.
but at any rate, the idea that I have should be a good one. So, but at any rate, that wraps up the show. So, Cam, I hope you have a good week. I hope tomorrow doesn't go terrible for you with the Lions losing. But if you didn't see the video, I just got the good hard eye roll. So, but anyway, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, Cam.
Yeah, whatever. I quit.